What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, October 26th of 2022? Before we get into all of our normal fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. So I want to apologize ahead of time. I am going to sound like a nasally little bitch because I have been feeling under the weather the last few days. So if you can hear, it sounds like I'm just like talking out of my nose. So don't mind that and don't mind my sniffles. If you hear me give a little, that might happen. That might happen. So, hi, Dave. You're still here.
Hi. Yes, I am. I know. Surprising, right?
It is.
I don't know why, but yeah.
It's surprising that we do anything this long. But we're sticking with it. We're doing it. And before we jump into our topics of the day, I just want to make sure everyone goes back and gives a listen to last week's episode. Ron Coleman was on. It was a really good episode, really fun, really informative episode. Definitely go back, give that a listen, and share it. But Dave, today we have a good episode. There's no guest, so I guess it definitely is a step down or two because it's just you. Yeah. But we have a lot to talk about. We have some good topics to talk about. But first, I want to talk about that shirt that you're wearing. You have a fantastic jersey on today, Dave.
This is last year's Tigres home jersey, if I remember correctly.
Who is Tigres for those out there that are uncultured?
They are a part of the Mexican Soccer League.
Liga
MX, yes.
MX, yes. So Dave is still on his soccer kick. I don't know if it's a fad. I don't know if it's real.
No, I catch games whenever I can. It's difficult when you're working.
I don't think he's accomplishing his goal in hockey, though. You said that you were to watch the Devils a lot.
I've watched a couple games. I watch a couple things, but I haven't kept up as much as I should. To
be dedicated to sports full on, it's really hard because there is so much going on. It is not easy, but overall, he's doing well. He's doing better than me. I don't watch sports anymore. I watch the Jets maybe a little bit with my kids running around hanging on me. If I could stay up late enough, maybe I'll watch Brooklyn. The Yankees I watch, but it's like, there comes a point where it's like, I can watch this game and be exhausted for work tomorrow, or I could sleep a little before my kids come and smack me in the face at 3 a.m. I think I'm going to sleep a little. So enough about that. Let's get into our fun topics of the day, Dave, because we have a lot of politics to talk about because we've been talking to a lot of guests about politics, but it's actually been a little while since me and you have kind of hashed out some politics stuff. So I think it's time, Dave. I think it is time.
Maybe it's time.
Talking about politics, one of the things that me and you do is we actually can talk, right? Me and you, we could put semi-coherent sentences together.
I don't know if I would value myself that highly, but
you see what you just did there was you had a subject, a predicate. You had an actual.
I don't.
There. But unlike our, person of topic that we're going to have next, if anyone watched last night, the debate between John Fetterman and Dr. Mehmet Oz, which, funnily enough, Dave, the moderators did to Dr. Oz what they did to Dr. Ben Carson. If you listened or if you watched it all, Dave, did you watch the debate really at all last night?
No, I only saw clips.
I caught as many clips as I could as possible, and I tried. I don't have News Nation, so I did what I could to try and watch it live. But the moderators are completely and totally disrespecting Dr. Oz, a surgeon for 20 plus years, a legitimate doctor. They kept on calling him Mr. Oz. And they did the same exact thing to Ben Carson in the debates when they called him Mr. Carson. But yet they'll call fucking Jill Biden Dr. Jill Biden because she has I don't even think she earned her educational PhD. So, I mean, that's something to look out for with what they do. But Dr. Oz and Fetterman went, I'm not even going to say toe to toe because Fetterman wasn't all there. John Fetterman, for people that don't know, the man suffered a stroke. Now, what is it, 9 months ago, Dave, or something like that? 8-9 months ago?
Before the primaries.
Before the primaries, he suffered a stroke. Initially, they said it wasn't a big deal. He went in, had to have surgery to get himself good. They announced he's fine. Everything's going to be okay. Once he recovers, his cognitive ability isn't affected. He's good to go. They kept on dodging debates. He did a few public appearances where he did not sound very good at all. I mean, when he said the Eagles are better than the Eagles, it was just really weird things, but he didn't sound all there. And the speculation was there. Fetterman is not all there. He's not doing well. And then they agreed to this debate. And, I don't know if Fetterman thought, his political acumen of being, lieutenant governor and mayor and things like that, we're going to push him through because Dr. Oz is a relative greenhorn to politics. Mm-hmm. He had his TV show for a long time, but he's not a political guy up until this point. But Fetterman agreed to it. If he could have captions and a big screen behind the moderators, there was pretty picture perfect captions back there. And the moderators even went through saying before the debate started, these captions are not the closed captioning you are going to see on your screen if you have them open. These are done in-house. They are an accurate depiction of what we are saying and the questions that are going to come. So Fetterman got this. He got the closed captioning, and he was a fucking train wreck, Dave. It was sad to watch. It made Joe Biden look like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton in terms of speaking. And it was just bad, Dave. And, we say shame on Joe Biden for marching out Joe. Shame on Fetterman's wife for marching him out and allowing him to do this in his whole campaign. None of these individuals should ever work in politics anymore, Dave. It was absolutely pathetic. What is your kind of takes on what went down there?
Yeah, really, when it comes down to seeing something like this happening, most of the time I start off with the feeling of this man should not be in this position. He should be resting or getting help. I mean, either way, like, he should be feeling better than what he's looking like on that stage right now, because it's shameful. It's embarrassing to look like that. And you know this if you've ever even walked up on any stage. You don't want to stumble across any single word you say. You want to make sure everything is perfect. So to prance someone out like that after now in the news cycle, a reporter got shamed for saying that Fetterman didn't seem all that there wasn't a cohesive conversation that she had with him from her. She was
NBC News, Dasha Shaw or something like that.
Yes, I can't remember.
Dasha Shay, something like that. Yeah,
but she was honest. She said, like, this didn't go very well. He didn't seem like he was understanding everything we were talking about. Yeah. She got dogpiled on, destroyed for that.
Other journalists. I just had an hour conversation with him.
Exactly. He was fine. Perfect. He was fine. And then he goes out and he looks like this. And the craziest thing is that Dr. Oz is an awful candidate, especially an awful Republican candidate.
He sounded good and looked good yesterday, though.
Yes, but he's a terrible candidate.
He is.
Policy-wise,
absolutely.
Pennsylvania-wise, the guy doesn't live there.
Yep.
So it's the worst part. The only thing he has somewhat behind him on a Republican ticket is that Trump endorsed him for whatever God knows reason.
Who knows?
But that's the only thing. He's an awful candidate, but he doesn't even need to do much because they're putting someone out there that shouldn't be out there. Fetterman should not be out there. This happened before the primaries. The fact of the matter is, you could have bowed out. You could have gotten this man the rest and the help he looks like he needed.
Yep.
And putting someone else out there. Because I'm going to tell you right now, any other Dem person might have beaten Dr. Oz. They might have beaten Dr. Oz. I don't
know anymore with the people they're putting out. Who knows? Honestly,
That is true. But it's just this debacle that happened. This could very well be the thing that sinks Fetterman completely.
It should. And if anyone thinks that we're over exaggerating, Washington Free Beacon put together a little highlight film of Fetterman's best here. And it's almost 2 minutes long. I don't know if we're going to listen to the whole thing, but listen in the beginning. This first clip, he starts off after he's asked the question of, you have 60 seconds to answer why you should be the candidate for why you should be in the Senate. This is how he starts off, by saying good night. So we're going to start playing this clip, and that first thing you hear is him giving his opening statement. So here's the clip here.
Hi, good night, everybody.
Long pause.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about, inflation. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served. That's like, he got his Pennsylvania house from his own inlays from $1.
Mr.
Oh, I do support fracking, and I don't I support fracking, and I do support fracking.
Okay.
Now, we all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full-time, you should be able to live in dignity as well. True. That's what I believe. I don't ever recall in the Statue of Liberty did they say, take our tired, huddled masses and put them on a bus. There, everybody in Braddock, an overwhelming majority community of black community, all understood what happened. They understood what happened, and everybody agreed that. And whether
So I want to stop real quick. That last moment talking about Braddock, they understood what happened. They understood. For people that don't know, as the mayor of Braddock, John Fetterman saw a black man jogging by his house, took it upon himself to get his shotgun, chase the guy down, and put it in the guy's face. And he's saying, and he's a big white dude, and he's saying that the black people in Braddock understood. And the reason being because there was a slew of crime going on lately. So he used the same exact excuse that, if we remember, I forget their names, the three white guys that chased down and did they kill the black guy? I think they might have. Yeah, they killed the one black guy.
Yeah.
They chased him down. They killed him.
I can't
remember the names. But he's using the same excuse. He didn't kill this guy, but he's using the same exact excuse that they did. And we're supposed to elect this guy to Senate. So let me play a little bit more just so it looks so much worse, everybody. Just so you know, you're hearing it. He looks lost the whole time. So let's finish this up and then we'll close out this part because, God, it's sad.
There was a $50 tax break, about his farm in Montgomery County. So it's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students.
How exactly, Mr. Fetterman, do you propose doing that to make it more affordable for families?
No, I just believe making it that much more. It costs too much, and I believe providing the resources to reduce the tuition to allow families to be able to afford it.
And they can't afford it anymore because of interest rates. I've talked to families.
You want to cut Social Security,
Mr. Fetterman? It's his turn for his closing.
Yeah. So, fun thing is, you hear it there multiple times, Dave. How quickly they rung the bell on him. Mm-hmm. How many times moderators interrupted him. They tried to save John Fetterman all night. There was no saving John Fetterman. And then it was so funny because I think it was a Columbia Bulge. They, right after a debate, they wrote liberal spin in 3, 2, 1. And I'm telling you, Dave, not a second later, I refreshed my Twitter and there we go. There was a blue check mark saying he was brave for even going out there and he gave courage to everybody. And that's their spin right now, that he was brave, that it was good and he will get better. So they're saying he got torched. Yeah. They're highlighting the moment where he talks about the quote from the Statue of Liberty saying it never says bring us your humbled, your masses and put them on a bus for a political stunt. They're saying that was a highlight. It was awful. And it was sad to see. It really was.
Yeah, this is about a time where you have to sit back and say, maybe this ain't it. Because I know we have talked about this, I believe, on the show as well. It's just like, what happens when you have a candidate general election wise? Because we talked about this with Trump, but Trump is old as hell.
Yep.
Even though he looks okay right now, okay enough.
Could turn any minute.
Any minute. Yep. Any minute. It could be half a year and the man just decomposes to something that Biden looks like or Fetterman looks like, basically. But when you get that old, your body is decomposing at that point. But it's
true.
But it can when it gets that bad, you don't want this person in charge of anything, like literally anything. You just want this person at home. So you really need to sit back and say, yeah, that didn't look great.
So I want to ask you, if you understand this quote. So the liberals are using this quote from Dr. Oz about abortion as their home run. Rex Chapman, who's one of the biggest morons on Twitter, he's a former decent athlete, and he's just an idiot liberal that just spouts off nonsense. He's like Occupy Democrats if Occupy Democrats was a celebrity. Like he's a know-nothing moron. But he sat there and highlighted this as a gift to the Democrats. And the quote from Dr. Oz about abortion was, like, it was the last clip, that abortion should be between a woman, their doctor, and the local politicians. And they are running with this. They're quoting like, oh, imagine Ted Cruz having a say. And go with your doctor. And Dave, do you understand what Dr. Oz is saying there?
I believe so. I believe that when a community votes on someone like in a genuine local, not state. State's not very local. State is state. But when you vote on something that's genuinely local, there could be usually some policies that you vote for in that local office.
And you see, I even took it as a little bit less than that. I took it as bring it back to the states' rights, bring it back to local rights. And I feel like that's exactly, I think he said it wrong. I think it was a bad way to say it.
100%.
It wasn't, but it's not the slam dunk that they're making it out to be. It's so
they
stupid.
Need literally anything. They need literally anything. But also, I will say this, Oz has been all over the place on the abortion topic. Like I said, I don't like him at all as a candidate. I don't trust him at all. I'm not going to lie to you. So, but just watching this, he should win this 10 times out of 10, especially after that debate. You got exactly what you wanted.
Let's be realistic when you talk about Dr. Mehmet Oz and getting into the Senate, which you should. First off, glass ceiling shattered. First ever male, I think, from his region, Muslim, getting in. So glass ceiling shattered. So Republicans, good for us, right? Should we celebrate that, Dave? Shouldn't the liberals celebrate that for us? That we shattered that glass ceiling, right?
It's not the correct. It's not the correct.
No, it's not. Okay, no, sorry. But he does share a lot of beliefs with the left, which is hilarious. But we could be honest here. We're getting Mitt Romney in Pennsylvania. That's what we'd be getting. But Mitt Romney still votes 85% of the time Republican. He pisses us off a lot of the times because the times when we really want him and need him, he screws us. But for the most part, he votes party lines. And we're going to get that out of Dr. Oz. He's going to vote for the most part party line stuff, and he's going to fuck us every once in a while. But if the Senate goes the way it should go, that it's looking like right now, then he might be canceled out. Then there might be enough of a majority in the Senate for Republicans to do what they need to do. Because right now it's looking pretty good. Again, we still have 13 days left. It could really shift, or 12 days now at this point on 26. It could still shift again. You know, polls are bullshit for the most part. They're fun to watch. They're fun to kind of guess. But when it comes down to it, things are going to go on. Right now, you're already hearing the Bidens and stuff saying that this election isn't going to be fair, even though questioning elections is supposed to be the worst thing to democracy of all time. Unless you're a liberal questioning the elections, then you're democratic and patriotic and only trying to protect democracy from evil Nazi rightists. I digress. But so overall, it's a real bad look. The Democrats don't care about John Fetterman. Democrats don't care about people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put up Joe Biden. They wouldn't have put up John Fetterman. And I really think, Dave, I think the Bidens and Harris pushed Fetterman to do this. Because what's the one thing that can make both of those bumbling morons look better? John Fetterman. He makes Harris and Biden look a lot better. And KJP, the stupid spokeswoman.
I don't know about that. But
Biden's best campaign policy is playing a video of Fetterman and saying, I'm not him.
No, I mean, listen, Fetterman runs away from Biden still. That's the thing. If you just saw that video in the ice cream shop,
yeah, he does.
Man, he still runs away from Biden. So there's nothing that is going to really help them in that. In fact, it'll make it shine even more. That
Fetterman might have a daughter, though, so he might have cognitive enough to know to keep his daughters away from Biden.
That is true. It is very true.
So speaking of people that people want to keep away, Elon Musk, still a guy I don't completely trust. And I'm really tired of people on the right loving Elon Musk. He's doing good things free speech wise. The guy's a climate psycho. We got to keep it in perspective. He's a good dude. He's doing well for Twitter right now with the free speech. He's very free speech oriented. I think he's going to do well when he owns Twitter. But I'm still timid on a lot of things he wants to do. But anyway, so he's set 28th is the deadline for him to officially take over Twitter. So in 2 days from now, he came out a few days ago now and said, I'm going to fire 75% of the workforce at Twitter because they're useless. I'm going to do a good review. And when I come in, first thing I'm going to do is a big sweeping clean house and keep only the 25% that actually do their jobs. Dave, this evoked such a response from Twitter that they had, I think it was up to 350 employees sign a letter. And in this letter, they have some really funny language. So first off, they talk about Elon's plan to lay off 75% of Twitter workers. It will hurt Twitter's ability to serve the public conversation. A threat of this magnitude is reckless, undermines our users and customers' trust in the platform, and is transparent act of worker intimidation. Motherfucker, no one trusts your platform.
Well, yeah,
Nobody trusts your
platform.
And your ability to serve the public conversation, you're not supposed to be serving anything. You're supposed to just be there and be a platform and just be a vehicle for people to have it. So that's the first thing. That is the second paragraph after we undersigned Twitter workers believe the public conversation is in jeopardy. That was their paragraph. So usually, Dave, you've written papers before. You start off with your strongest points, right?
Yeah.
And then in the middle, you kind of gobbledygook, and then you finish off strong, right? That's kind of how you write
the middle, you're supposed to support it a little bit more. You're introducing in the beginning. You support it a little bit more.
But this is supposed to be the strength, right? Strength.
Yes. This is where you're outlining the talking points that you're going to go through.
That's a strength. So they talk about how they help communities across the globe. They're helping to uplift independent journalism in Ukraine and Iran. Mind you, I'm sorry, I Fetterman. Mind you, they also helped the Arab Spring. Twitter was a huge reason for the Arab Spring, and Arab Spring was not a good thing. So they could brag about that. But then they continue. A threat to workers at Twitter is a threat to Twitter's future. These threats have an impact on us workers and demonstrate a fundamental disconnect with the realities of operating Twitter. People that work 12 hours a day are telling anybody how to work, that what they're doing is so important. They threaten our livelihoods, access to essential healthcare, and the ability for visa holders to stay in the country they work in. We could not do our work in an environment of constant harassment and threats. Without our work, there is no Twitter. So they have a little point there. Threatening livelihoods, essential work to healthcare, visas. Those are valid. Should have fucking let off with that, okay? You should have let off with, hey, we don't like the 75% thing because, a lot of people rely on this. It's our big source of income. We don't want to be laid off. That's a legitimate start. They buried it. They buried the lead here. So right there, like I said, nobody reads the middle. Nobody cares about that part. They're going to the beginning and they're going to the end. But here's where it gets fun, Dave, because they want to get tough with the richest man on the planet. We, the workers of Twitter, will not be intimidated. We recommit to supporting the communities, organizations, and businesses who rely on Twitter. We will not stop serving the public conversation.
These are people that have a certain amount of power that they know that they will never have again.
Yep.
And that have never had this power before. That's what it is. And like you said, like those other points about the healthcare and everything, that those are good points if you are doing your job well. Those are when those are good points. Those are when it's understandable to complain. When you've done your job well and when you've done the things that you need to do. I don't think many people like Twitter. So actually like Twitter. They're on it because they kind of need to be, a lot of people, but they don't necessarily like it. They think it's draining. Twitter. They think it's draining. They think it hurts them mentally. They think it does so many things to so many people that it's actually pretty awful. It's helpful in some ways because, you're so out there to everyone. But the way it's run, the fact that it's not transparent at all, the fact that no matter what you do, you're walking on eggshells on Twitter because you could run into any of these people that probably sign on to this letter that can decide, you didn't say something correctly or you said something that seemed a little harmful.
Ian Carlton, I'll give him a shout out from Timcast. He always talks about open source it. Open sources. Let the algorithm be open source so people see what's up. I think that would be big. That would be huge for confidence in Twitter.
It would be nice. But even then, you don't need to open source anything if you're transparent in the first place.
Yes.
If when you suspended someone and you had a very stringent guideline, one that's not so vague, and you could point it out to them and actually work with them, then that's understandable.
Dave, it's not vague. They just don't accept hate.
But when you have stories like the kid who was forced to be in a child pornography film that was then on Twitter. And then he goes to Twitter and says, hey, this is me in this at like 13 or 15. I can't remember the age. Doesn't matter. Still underage. Take this down. They said no, and the police had to get involved. Twitter doesn't look like it's running itself very well.
Louis Farrakhan has a Twitter still. Louis Farrakhan's one of the most hateful people on the planet.
100%. And, I genuinely, if they were running this consistently, I wouldn't care. Because honestly, I want to see how crazy Farrakhan is.
I'm okay with him having a Twitter and being able to speak. But if you're, like I said, if you're going to be consistent,
yes,
that's a guy that shouldn't be on there.
100%. And that's the issue, is that they're not consistent. They're not very transparent. That's the issue with a lot of social media. And I don't know if Musk's having fun with this. So that's why it's pretty funny. I don't know if he's going to do incredible things with Twitter. But the fact of the matter is, these people who have had, like I said, had power, I'm going to say, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be gone.
These 350 are definitely fired.
Yeah. But had power that they knew they've either never had in their life before or they'll never have in their life again. And they wanted to flex it. They wanted to use this stuff to steer the public conversation, to make sure it's going well.
Yep.
Well, now that's hopefully going to be gone from them.
So let's finish what we had going on here. I'll finish out this letter because this is where it gets, where we see all these little commies come out with their Marxism, because this basically sounds like, this community wants to be strong and they're going to make demands of proletariat standing up to the bourgeoisie right here. It's exactly what it seems like. So here we go. We call on Twitter management and Elon Musk to cease these negligent layoff threats. So there you go. Strong. Cease. They're demanding these things. Mm-hmm. As workers, the workers of the people, we do the work. We deserve concrete commitments so we can continue to preserve the integrity of our platform. The integrity of their platform. They are so lost in reality. We demand of the current and future leadership, in bold letters, respect. We demand leadership to respect the platform and the workers who maintain it by committing to preserving the current headcount. So don't fire us. Safety. Hold on, I'll finish, Dave. Safety. Yeah. We demand that leadership does not discriminate against workers on the basis of their race, gender, disability, sexual orientation, or political beliefs. They had to throw in that last one there because they know they've been fucking doing it. Mm-hmm. Iron law of projection. We also demand safety for workers on visas who will be forced to leave the country they work for if they are laid off. Protection. We demand Elon Musk explicitly commit to preserve our benefits, those both listed in the merger agreement and not, e.g. remote work. We demand leadership to establish and ensure fair severance policies for all workers before and after the change in ownership. And dignity. We demand transparent, prompt, and thoughtful communication around working conditions. We demand to be treated with dignity and to not be treated as mere pawns in a game played by billionaires. So these are people that have actually never worked in their life. That's all this is.
That's basically what I was going to say. You are witnessing people, they may have worked in their life, but the thing is, they are people that have not been told no.
And again,
they have not been have the foot, stomped down, say, no, this is not happening. You're not getting whatever the hell you want whenever you want it, because there are ways to go about these negotiations.
Absolutely. And this is, Dave, this is our generation, right? My generation, mostly yours too, the everyone gets a trophy generation, right? This is exactly the product of it, where, like you said, they've never been told no. They've all been told, here, great participation. You tried. And never been told no. You failed. You have actually failed. And right now, Elon Musk is coming in and saying, by my analysis, at least 75% of you are bad at your job. Don't do your job, and I'm going to get rid of you because you are not good. Go somewhere else.
And this is the issue here. We've seen this in company after company after company. That's why so many companies kowtow to a lot of these things, because they just don't say no to these employees.
Yep.
Because what is the best way to show that you should belong in a company? You show what you've done.
You work or you unionize. I don't know why these idiots didn't unionize. Yes. Well, once Elon started this process, they should have unionized.
But whenever you're working for a company, they have everything you've done. They keep a record of everything you've done for them. Believe you me, they do. They see everything you do.
Yep.
So they know what you've done. And you should have a pretty good record of what you've done too. If you want to stay at a company, most of the time, one, they won't even bring up getting rid of you. But also, you could say, look, I've done this. You have some sort of portfolio that both of you have a record of.
Yep.
Most of the time. So you could prove you deserve to be there. You don't have to fall back.
You have a reason to be there.
Exactly. You don't have to fall back on these just no leverage demands because they have no leverage. They have absolutely none.
And the thing is, too, and like you said, there's different ways of going about this because there are things in here that I don't think are actually bad to ask of new leadership, right? Not in a demand sense, but in a way of, hey, we are the senior leadership and this is what we would like. This is what we would like to see happen under new leadership. Mm-hmm. We would really, we would like to not be discriminated by following current harassment laws. And we would like to not be politically discriminated. We would really believe that the workforce is valuable on its number. And by losing any of these valued employees would really hurt our effectiveness. Mm-hmm. We believe that in the merger agreement, there were not enough protections that we've been guaranteed. And we would like to go over that with leadership and make sure it's insured for our remote workers. And also we care about our workers on visas and we would not like to see any of them go home. Like there are so many ways that you word this properly.
But here's the rub. Here's the rub. All of the people, or most of the people, I don't want to say all the people that signed this, they didn't get their way by actually trying to prove that in a private meeting or anything like that. They've usually gotten their way by going to the same exact company, going on Twitter and complaining. That's how they've gotten their way consistently. And now here's the rub. You can't do that anymore.
They also believe that they actually deserve all this stuff. That's the other thing. They truly and firmly believe that just from existing, that they deserve this, that you don't have to work hard to get this by just virtue of being employed by a company, that the company now owes it to you, whether or not you become a profitable member of that company or not, that the company owes it to you. It is the communist mentality, Dave. It really is. And I hate to bring it up into like the politics side of it, but it really is that Marxist mentality of I shouldn't have to do much in order to get a lot. And that's exactly what we're seeing in writing in the way this is.
Yeah. But they have nowhere to go. They have absolutely no leverage here. I didn't know much about this letter, so this might have been sent privately and it became public. Either way, the way these people usually get their stuff done is they complain enough publicly on Twitter.
Well, they're a bunch of babies. That's
on Twitter. Not Instagram, not Facebook. On Twitter is where people complain and get stuff done. They can't do that to the head of Twitter. So they're completely screwed. They're completely screwed. And they realize this. That's why they try to do this. They're going to get fired. They're going to come out and complain on Twitter again. Be very ready for that this weekend.
That's fine.
Bunch of people coming on Twitter saying they've lost whatever because they might not have saved anything from this job. But be ready for that because that's exactly how they do things. That's how they play these games.
And what's one of the things that I think we all notice, especially with these types of, leftist types, because it's fair to say they're a bunch of leftists. They're extremely immature. The whole entire theory, it's a very immature way of doing anything. It's emotionally driven. It's whining. It's a lot of, I deserve this because I said so. No real reasons, no anything like that. And exactly what you see. You're dealing with children. When you deal with these people, you're dealing with children. And what's the best way to deal with them? It's what Elon Musk is doing. Trolling them back, number one. And then just saying, no, you're not getting what you want anymore.
Yeah.
Go sit in the corner. And when you act appropriately, maybe I'll bring you back. And it comes to, I want to just talk about before we get going, just our last thing, which is why we want to talk about this. Elon Musk being himself decided that after this letter came out, the best way to respond is to basically say to these 350 people, fuck you. I'm here. I'm going to do what I want. And you have no power. Because I believe it was today. Maybe I'll go find it as I speak. Elon Musk put out a video of himself walking in the Twitter headquarters holding a sink. And he said, there you go.
Today.
Entering Twitter HQ. Let that sink in. Here it goes. We're hearing it. For those of you that can't see, it's Elon Musk quite literally walking into Twitter headquarters with a sink. There you go. Mind you, He is the most wealthy man in the world, and he's an African American. I think we should hammer that down. That Elon Musk is a wealthy African American, and it is racist to be mad at him and be against him. But anyway, he trolls. Entering Twitter headquarters, let that sink in. And this is a direct response to those with the letter basically saying, I read it, I heard you, I don't care. And I love it. Keep doing you, Elon. Keep doing you. Dave, anything else you have to say about the Twitter?
No, I am interested to see how this goes, and I'm interested to see more of the fallout, because this is just the beginning.
It's going to be so much fun. In 2 days, the 28th, when he officially takes it over, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Honestly, I'm interested too, because I think the expectations are a little too high for what's going to happen when he takes over.
Yeah, I mean, people are expecting Twitter to be Twitter still.
He's bringing Trump back. He's going to bring, Carl Benjamin back. He's going to bring Alex Jones back. And I don't know if any of that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know enough about Elon Musk. I know he's been pretty good over the last few years. I'm wanting the free speech. I'm wanting to make it a public square. We'll see where he takes it. Trump said he won't come back. Let's be honest. Trump will come back. It's the best way to get his message across. It reaches the most people. Truth Social has a reach, but it's an echo chamber. So this is the best way to get his message across to independents. And he loves the vitriol that comes back on him. He feeds on that type of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. I mean, if you like free speech, it's an exciting time because it looks like it's going to go back to being more of a free platform, but we shall see. So Dave, on to our last topic of the day. I think we wanted to talk about this with Ron Coleman, but we just it got lost in the shuffle, and I don't know how much he was following it. He's a busy dude with Dylan Law. Dylan Law covers a lot of really good stuff for conservatives, popular conservatives that are being, defamed and wrongfully treated. So it's a pretty big deal. But this trial, Darrell Brooks' trial. Now, people don't know who Darrell Brooks Jr. is. He's the guy, a black man that when did he do this? In 2015, I believe. What day was it?
It's last year, I thought. Or 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago that Darrell Brooks did this?
It was after Rittenhouse got acquitted.
Okay, so after Rittenhouse got acquitted. I don't have the exact date. I'm an idiot. So regardless, he drove through a Christmas Day parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Drove through a parade, generally all white people. 2021. Zigzagged through the parade, injured countless people, killed 6, including an 8-year-old little boy. And I just want to remind everybody who this guy is that is on trial, because one of the reasons why we want to talk about this is no one's talking about this trial. He was just convicted of all 6 counts of homicide. And nobody is talking about the fact that this domestic terrorist, who is a racist against white people, just got convicted of and guilty of this crime, unequivocally guilty. And he's a madman, which Dave will talk about a little more of his antics. But I just want to remind people who this guy is. A few little things here. The Anti-Defamation League did a whole entire thing on him. And they talked about who he was. So first off, he had quotes from a falsified quote from Adolf Hitler saying that that they're not the real Jews, that the black people are real Jews, and that the Jews now are false Jews. Circulated by Black Hebrew Israelites, popular by them. So they're claiming here that they don't know if he's a Black Hebrew Israelite. I guess we don't know exactly, but they're pretty quick to connect the dots on other people. So I'm going to connect the fucking dots for people. The guy probably was a Black Hebrew Israelite, or at least believed a lot of what they believe in. So, and I know it's been popular lately because Kanye's been saying a lot of things that they believe in. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kanye has some Black Hebrew Israelite leanings as well, but that's neither here nor there. So he did that. Brooks also did conspiracy theory posts about the New World Order stuff. He was pretty political, talking about Kyle Rittenhouse and Darren Wilson. He also is a lifetime criminal. He has a huge rap sheet, domestic violence charges, left and right. He was out on bail from a domestic violence charge, $1,000 bail when he did this. He was out on bail when he committed this crime. He's also a registered sex offender. In 2006, he was convicted of felony statutory sexual seduction for impregnating a 15-year-old girl. He did that in 2006. He was 39 last year in 2021 when it happened. So what is that? That's 15 years ago. So what was he, 24? So 24 having sex with a 15-year-old. He's not a good dude. He's a bad dude who shouldn't have been on the streets to begin with. Now, that was the ADL. Now, Dave, I stumbled across another article about him. Snopes actually did a fact check on him. Now, on the right, we hate Snopes, right? They fucking suck normally. Mm-hmm. They did a really good job on this one, Dave. I'm not going to lie. So they have a claim there that they do the whole entire story. They do the claims and then they say whether or not it's good or bad, blah, blah, blah. So they start off with the rating that Waukesha Parade had fatalities. At the time that they wrote this, they didn't know the actual number of fatalities. So it's fair to say that they didn't know completely. They talked about him being a sex offender. They rated that true, unabashedly true. They talked about their registration where you can find it, exactly what he did, which I give him credit. They post his picture from nvsexoffenders.gov, which is surprising. Snopes usually tries to cover this type of shit up. Brooks out on bail during an SUV incident. Completely true as well. They put the bail, and they said that it was low bail, $1,000 bail. They say it was unproven whether he was fleeing from another crime. Now, I don't think this has ever completely been resolved, Dave, that he was fleeing from another crime or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But they had that. They said that was unproven. So I give credit to Snopes on this one. They were fairly accurate. And you can go and find other stuff about him. New York Post has a pretty good article back from November 24th of 2021 talking about the post that he did against, talking about Hitler and things like that. Learned and taught behavior. So when we start back knocking white people to F out, I don't want to hear it. The old white people too, knock them to F out, period. So he hates white people. And he didn't like Jews. And Heavy.com actually did an article on the 3rd of October of this year about the trial and about who he was. Pretty good article about how he felt, his hip hop, when he weighed in on Kyle Rittenhouse and things like that. So I recommend looking up Darrell Brooks' social media. The Heavy.com article, New York Post article are pretty good. Now, that's a synopsis of the guy, a synopsis of what he did. Dave, the trial was, I think, a scary circus. Is that a good way to put it?
I didn't watch all the trial. I've seen clips, and I've seen a bunch of clips of the trial, and I've seen some of the antics.
Now, for reference, Dave is a LawTube nerd. He loves LawTube. And
LawTube in quotes. LawTube in the fact that I watch lawyers. I will say there is no such thing as LawTube.
There is no such thing as LawTube. But he watches a lot of lawyers talk about it in clips. So you do have a general idea of a lot of these trials going on.
Somewhat. Now, at least enough that I've seen some of the stuff that had been happening. Yeah. And I've seen some of the stuff that had been happening in this trial. And I'm not entirely sure if Darrell Brooks is trying to force a mistrial in some way, or if he is just insane. Let's not forget that he ran into a parade with an SUV and killed people.
Zigzagged.
So there is a good possibility that the man is just out of his mind, even though he was analyzed and said he was competent enough to represent himself, which he represented himself in a criminal case here. Let's get that. Let's understand that he represented himself. So it's just a whole courtroom. It was basically allowing him, and for a good reason, being softer on him during all of his antics that he portrayed during this whole entire trial, because most of it was really against a judge. He would say things to the judge. She would have to put him in another room and would mute his mic if it got too annoying. I remember he took his shirt off at one point. I think he gave a finger to the camera. Surprisingly enough, on witnesses, he actually was more or less respectful to witnesses, but it was mainly towards the judge that he slung all of his mud at.
Now, I want to say this. It was a female judge. He has a long history of domestic abuse against girlfriends and women.
That is true.
So he definitely hates women. That's not even a question.
But this is also kind of evidence that he was trying for a mistrial because, I mean, if he's only trying to go for the judge to see if she's going to mess up and allow him to appeal for a mistrial, it's good evidence that he was actually trying for this. But it's just the whole trial is a circus. You could probably find a ton of clips online. There's probably compilations of the things that he did in that courtroom. One of the times, I think multiple times he did this, but he like slammed his fist down on the table and like mad dog stared at the judge. Like, a terrifying, like just full on death stare at the judge, to the point where she was like, okay, like I am a little uncomfortable about this, a little scared about this. So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back later. She was as lenient as possible. She let him do a lot. She did put him in another room a bunch of times. She wasn't like just letting him run the courtroom, but she was letting him do a lot to the chagrin of some people, because you can step in as a judge and stop some of these things. But she was damn well trying her hardest to make sure there was no appeal. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I think she was trying to let him bury himself. I think she was trying to let the jury see that he's unfit to be in society.
Yes. 100%. And the thing is, he is in a trial where they're, funny enough, the complete opposite of the Rittenhouse trial in a way, where Rittenhouse had all the evidence, all the video evidence to show that it was all in self-defense.
Yep.
While this has video and just tons of witness evidence to show that he was behind the wheel when he went through this parade that was completely sectioned off as a parade and zigzagged through people. There was a ton of evidence against him.
He kept on denying that it was him the whole time. He never admitted that it was him.
He was denying that his name was even Darrell Brooks.
Yep. So
the whole trial was more or less a clown show because of the things that he was doing. I think overall good work by the judge and the prosecutors, because just making sure there is no way for him to win any appeal that he's going to put an appeal through, but there's no way that he's really going to win an appeal, and to make sure you get him into jail where he belongs. Because
the credit to the prosecution, because they weren't overzealous. They let the man bury himself in a way where they could have been very objection heavy, obviously. Credit to both to kind of just let this play out and make this an easy decision for the jury, because he was convicted on all 6 counts of homicide, as he should have been. I don't know if they've labeled this a terrorist attack yet, but I think it's insane to not think that this wasn't. Looking at his social media, listening to some of his rap lyrics and things like that, the man had a lot of hatred. Was he sane? Absolutely not. But anyone that does these things are insane. So it's not like that. I don't think the insanity plea is good enough to keep him out of jail. He was obviously coherent enough.
He had enough competency to represent himself. So I don't think that insanity plea would be good.
No,
I don't think it would. In fact, he actually did plead that and then took it off. Not too long before the trial started. Let me see. He initially pled not guilty by reason of mental disease, but withdrew the plea in September without explanation. And his trial began October 3rd. So,
I mean, I think he thought that the insanity plea wasn't going to work regardless, and his best bet was to get a mistrial. I think that at this point, and that's why he was doing his antics, that's why he was doing what he would try to do. And again, credit to the witnesses, the cops that were up there that were, the one cop that quite literally tried to stop him, and he kept on saying, "You were behind the wheel." He's like, "There's the you again. Who you refer? And couldn't you have shot at the tires? No. Were you shooting to kill? No." But, it was just, the cop was very good up there in the way that he responded. And I mean, I don't know if a defender could have done better for him. That's the thing. I don't know if a defense attorney could have done any better than what he did, to be quite honest, because this was there was nothing in this case that could have gotten him off, really.
Well, a defender at this point would have probably just tried for any way to lessen the degree of what they got. Maybe find some way to make sure he didn't get 1 or 2 of the charges. But I think they would have done better, because even with these antics, because of how much he was doing, I do feel like it would have been, the judge would have really had to blown up for there to be a mistrial, because you have the right to a fair trial, but that doesn't mean you could be an absolute ass during the trial.
That doesn't mean would have gotten you could force the prosecution. I think the defender would have been like, "We have to take a plea here.
Maybe
like, there is nothing here. Yeah. We can't defend you. There's no defense."
Yeah, yes, but either way, if you want to see some of the trial, there are plenty of people on YouTube that have literally the whole trial watching it and analyzing things. It's long videos, so you don't need to watch that. Like I said, I guarantee there are compilations. There are clips of things that he did during the trial. Because honestly, you coming into this, you know that he did it. You're really just seeing the trial to see what the hell happened in this trial and how ridiculous he was. You're watching the downfall of someone who should be going to jail. That's the thing, and it's insane to view, because most people will probably say, like, what is the point of this trial? It's very obvious what he did. But to watch this and to view and to understand the respect to have for our court system, that even this man who is verifiably evil, who verifiably did these things, does deserve this trial.
Yep.
And does deserve to be buried in public the way he was.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
And he's unabashedly proven guilty in this situation.
Yes.
And like you said, credit to our justice system for allowing this, because they very easily could have tried to stonewall this and done what and been like, there's no reason to entertain this. And that's not what our justice system is there for.
Yeah. And listen, there are plenty of issues with our court system.
Of course.
There are plenty of things that, I just brought up the Rittenhouse case not that long ago. Like that was an issue.
Yep.
But credit when credit is due. We needed this to go right. It went right. I'm sure he'll file for an appeal soon. I haven't seen anything yet, but it won't go well for him. At least it doesn't look like it will.
No. So overall, kudos to the justice system, that judge, that prosecutor, all the witnesses that participated and held their cool, and to that jury that it's tough to be on a jury. I've never been on one. Dave, I don't know if you've ever been on one. I don't think you have.
No.
It's tough to be on a jury, especially on a high-profile case, which this is a high-profile case. Although the media did their best not to cover it, I don't think there was any talk about it anywhere outside that it was occurring maybe every once in a while. Like, oh, he's on trial. Bye. They don't want to cover this. And hopefully the cleanup at CNN will help them. And because apparently that Jim Acosta is going to be out next. That was a rumor. It would be nice, Dave, if we can have a network like a CNN going back to just covering this type of stuff. Because before, they were always leaning left, but they would at least give fair coverage to things. Because, you can't rely on Fox. Fox is going to look at things on a complete right spectrum. You can't rely on MSNBC. They actually thought John Fetterman did a good job last night because they're fucking stupid. But Alex Wagner might be the biggest idiot on a host on all of TV, and Rachel Maddow's on the same network. So it's tough. But, I don't like CNN, but there's hopes that maybe they can clean it up and make it to something where you at least get at least talking about this, whether you're talking about it wrong or not, at least talking about it, because it got nothing.
Either way, yes. Either way, you should be able to bring up Darrell Brooks and understand who that is.
Yep.
Because this was a legitimate tragedy. This was a legitimate massacre.
Yes.
It was terrible.
Yep.
And even when it happened, people weren't really talking about it very much. And in fact, when they were talking about it, they said, an SUV plowed into people.
They didn't say a black man driving an SUV. They would or all white crowd. Or
we knew how this was going to go. We knew they weren't going to cover it because they don't want to cover this. Nope. They'll cover the trial that the way they covered it made this man do this. Wouldn't say made. I would say influenced him to do this.
Yep.
Because the Rittenhouse trial was one of the reasons why he did this. 100% one of the reasons why he did this. He said it himself. So it's embarrassing that the same media response that influenced shit like this will not even cover the stuff that they influenced.
They cover what they want to cover. They made a big deal about Alex Jones getting $1 billion decision, which is ridiculous because Alex Jones doesn't have $1 billion and those people don't deserve $1 billion. I'm sorry, because most of the people named in there, Alex Jones didn't even talk about. I think he mentioned 3 people in total by name, which was wrong. Alex Jones wasn't right. Don't get me wrong. But the guy's allowed to have his opinion. If it's a fucked up opinion, it's a bad opinion. But he shouldn't have to pay millions upon millions upon millions of dollars because people got their feelings hurt on his opinion. And that's just the freedom of the press there. You're allowed to be, people are allowed to be offensive. That's protected in the First Amendment. Now, if Alex Jones said, the Sandy Hook people were wrong, they were actors, and I'm going to go out there and beat the shit out of them, then he's not protected anymore because he's promoting violence. That's a threat. He never did anything like that. These are all shits. He's not going to pay a single dime to any of these people. But I digress. We're on the Alex Jones trial now. I moved on to a whole entire other thing because we're talking about the media and how badly they suck. And that's a whole other topic as well. Dave, before we go on for another hour, I think we have to end this.
Yes. Yes, we do. Overall, if you want to see any of the trial, I would recommend just some clips because it was crazy. And know that this man will most likely, because anything could happen in this world, but will most likely be behind bars where he deserves to be.
Thank God it didn't happen in New York City. Holko would have had him out in the street yesterday.
Yeah.
More than that. Holko would have had him out in the street 3 days after he did it. So, God, maybe next time we'll talk about the Zeldin Hochul debate because Lee Zeldin did fantastic and he's overshadowed by the fact that John Fetterman sounds like the friggin' Swedish chef. Anyway, we're going to get out of here, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Dave, anything before we head out?
No, that was it. Pay attention as much as you can to a lot of things that are happening because there are plenty of things that are going on that you might not hear if you don't try to dig a little bit. So
yeah. And yeah, I'm currently listening/reading to Fossil Future by Alex Epstein. Great book. Everyone should go out and listen to it. It's awesome. Defending fossil fuels. We need more of them, not less of them. Anyway, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Find us on socials at The Alex Cuesta Show. We'll be back next week, maybe with the guest, maybe not. So long, everybody.